So, in an effort to keep better track of my spending, I don't know about everybody else, but ever since we've been home a lot from the pandemic, I've had a hard time keeping track of the money that I've been spending. And I have come up with a new system that I think is going to work, but we'll see. Um, I know that, a lot of the things that I had trouble overspending on for me, which is definitely food related, eating out, groceries, things like that. Um, I took the time to use cash before, and that was actually working really well. That was very successful for me to sit here and go, okay, I only have like $6 left to eat out with. So it's either like the dollar menu or, well, not the dollar menu. I don't eat at McDonald's, but get what I'm saying. Um, or, I'm not eating out until next month. So I was pretty good about that. And that was very, very helpful. But with the pandemic, I don't really feel like going in and handling cash. I don't want to give people cash and get cash back. That just seems like an unnecessary germ transaction. And I've kind of done the same thing with groceries and my grocery budget. It's been really hard to figure out grocery wise what I'm going to need because I'm going in and buying stuff in anticipation of having to like quarantine for a little bit or in anticipation of there being another shutdown and making sure that I have enough to kind of ride me through the any amount of shutdown. So that's been kind of hard to gauge. I think I have enough. I don't think I'm going to need to buy any other sort of stapley type supplies. I think I'll probably get some produce and stuff like that, like things that aren't gonna be able to last like 2, 3 months. But otherwise, I think I'm set on everything else. Like I've got enough grains. I have a lot of frozen vegetables too, so I'm probably gonna hit those up first. I got to get a little creative, I think, as far as that goes, though, with how to make sure I'm eating enough vegetables and enough fruit with the stuff that I have in my freezer. So, um, I thought I would use a different budget tool. And this is a tool that actually also tracks spending on top of, like specifically what you're spending. So I was using the every dollar, which I did like, and I liked how it was connected to my bank account. So I could kind of see, uh-oh, running low on whatever fund or whatever line item that I had. But that didn't give me as good of an idea, I think. And then now it's like $129 or something like that. And I don't really want to spend that if I can find something that's going to work better for me long term. Like it was great to use while I was using it. But if I'm going to be budgeting every month for the rest of my life, that's a lot of money to spend on something that I can maybe find a way to do that differently. And if I can't, I'll go back to it. But as of right now, this is what we're going to try. So this is actually the template from Budget Girl. If anybody has ever followed her, I've watched a lot of her videos. I love what she's done. And so I thought I would start out with her like first template. This was the free template because I thought, all right, like let me get my feet wet and figure out what's going on here, and go from there. And I've sort of played around with it a little bit, and I think I've gotten it to the point where I've got something that's going to work a little bit more functionally, and then I may make some adjustments. Like I'm still on the lookout for something that's going to work the best for me, but I think that like I need to start playing around before I figure out exactly what I need in something. So I have edited it a little bit to meet like my specific needs. So giving, this is an area where I need to improve. Right now, I mostly just give to the Nittany Lion Club. It helps fund, scholarships for athletes and stuff, and I send it directly to the field hockey team. So, I'm on the lookout there for more ways that I can give. I am not religious, so I don't tithe. I'm not going to give money to a church that I don't attend. But I do think it's important to give back. I'm just not quite sure exactly where I want that money to go yet. Because I'm also trying to decide, like, if I have a set amount, like let's say it's $300 a month that I can send somewhere, is it better to split that $300 up into like, for easy math, I'll just say like 30 places and they get $10 a month from me? Or is it better to then like, find a few that I really want to support, and let's say three, and $100 a month for three, or like $300 a month, 1 month to one organization, 300 to a different month, or a different organization the next month. Haven't quite figured that out yet. And that's probably going to be like, gonna have to start somewhere, and that's probably going to be the next big thing I research, and that's probably just gonna, I don't know. I have to decide. I think once I start looking at different organizations, I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to save the whales. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. So I'm a little concerned about, what that's going to end up looking like, in terms of whether or not that's going to be manageable. I think it's all going to have to go on auto pay because I'll never remember all of them. But I think sometimes it's kind of, I think I will have a hard time narrowing down like, oh, I only have so much money and there's only so much I can give, but I want to give to all of them. That's definitely going to be my problem. I have to be a little cold-hearted, I think, at some point, and just draw the line somewhere. So, okay, so here are my general monthly expenses. Actually, let me back up. So here's my income. This is from my day job. So weeks 1 and 3, I get paid at the same time. So I just get 2 paychecks on, whatever weeks I'm getting paid. But for my brain, it just made sense to make like weeks 1 and 3 are my day job. Weeks 2 and 4 are actually variable. I put 250 in here because if I make less than 250, that's a pretty slim week. And so I'm usually more like around 300. And it's just kind of an hourly thing. So it just depends, but, I'm typically getting anywhere from 20 to 25 hours a week doing that. It's actually like I'm teaching online. So because that's variable, I sort of set it at like the base. And these are not variable. So I kind of keep them separate so that I can see in my head when I go back and look and say, oh, wow, actually I made like $500 in that one the first half of that month or whatever. So this is, kind of, it's adjustable. But because of that, I try to base everything off of my regular income. Like if I walked away from my second job tomorrow, it wouldn't impact my budget. It would just maybe mean like it would take me a little longer to do something I wanted to do. It's been great as far as that goes because it nets me about an extra anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a year. Just depends on what I'm doing, and how busy we are that year and stuff like that. So it's a nice extra chunk of change. It's helped me meet some financial goals already, and it's helped me get some new skills, which has been pretty cool. So I will not be doing it much longer. I'm looking into getting a different job that's really not going to leave me with the time or the energy to do it. And it's going to pay me more, the job, to make up for not doing it anyway. So I'm looking at probably May at the latest, and probably before then. We'll just see. It's going to depend on how my life goes. We'll have to see what January holds. It's been a really busy fall. I've been taking an internship towards that job. I've been taking a grad class and working 2 jobs in a pandemic. So it's been kind of nuts. And with that in mind, this video is honestly going to be just me talking. Like I'm not really going to go back and edit anything. And I've done it in Screencast-O-Matic because I thought I don't have the time to actually edit and make this something, like really spiffy and fancy. And if I wait until I have the time to do that, then I'm going to miss this opportunity to do what I want to do with this. So I figure, you know what, it's not perfect, but it's there. So it is what it is. So, okay, so that's the income I have to work with. My other income is $260 from my mother. My parents actually pay for my student loans at the moment. I'm actually going to try to pay them off and take on the last, it's a little bit under $15,000 now, I think. That's just kind of the deal we had when I went to school. They just wanted me to take out the loan just so that they didn't have like this giant chunk of change that they had to pay at the time. So I did, but like I don't think I've ever put like $1 towards it. They've given me $200 a month that goes straight to the thing, straight to American Education Services, and that's that. The $60 is from her portion of our cell phone bill because I'm the one who owns the cell phone bill. You know what? I've said I'm not editing, but I'm going to pause because that's my timer. Like a weird edit now. Yeah, that was my timer because I'm literally cooking dinner right now. Like I said, trying to squeeze this in where I can. What was I talking about? The cell phone. So the cell phone's in my name and we just have a shared plan. So I pay it. She pays me her part of it. Her part of it is more than my part of it, which is part of the these notes here. We go through Xfinity and it's super cheap if you have Comcast internet. So we had that opportunity. I bought my phone straight out. My mother's still paying on hers. So I only pay, like we share 1 GB of shared data because just based on the things that have been happening for the 2 years in our lives, we've been mostly going to work, going home, or going to the hospital, going home. All of those places are going to have access to Wi-Fi. So we don't really need a data plan and we rarely go over. I think we did kind of a shop hop of different quilt shops, and that's like one of the months we went over. And then I went over one other month when my Wi-Fi router dropped my Wi-Fi signal and I didn't realize it, and I was like watching videos and stuff on my phone, and I was just eating up data because I didn't realize it wasn't on the Wi-Fi like it was supposed to be. So I think that's like 2 months that we went over, and that's about it. So with that in mind, I thought, like, why would we pay for individual lines, or why would we even pay for more data? Like, we're home all the time. So our data it's $12 for a gig, so we each pay $6. There's about 7 and change of fees, so we split that. I just rounded it up to 8, so we do that. And then I have $12 of insurance on my phone, so my total is $22. My mother pays the 22 plus her phone, so that gives her about $60. So that's what that is. Like, it's not income. My mom's not paying me, but that's just where that comes from. So my numbers add up appropriately. When it comes to my expenses, so I own my house, or rather have a mortgage on my house, but so I don't rent. So my mortgage is $676.03 right now. We'll see you in July when my anniversary of my purchase comes around because it always goes up. My electrical is actually pretty good. It's never been more than like $45. Now, I can actually budget specifically what I'm doing because I usually get the bill about halfway or like 2/3 of the way through the month. So what I just do is, like, this is technically the bill for the previous month's usage, or the previous month's cycle, because it's kind of like in the middle. So but like, this is what has to get paid in this month. So I just put the specific number in there. I don't have to kind of do that budget billing or, try to guesstimate how much. Honestly, it's never been more than $45, and that's even with an air conditioner running, which I don't do often because I don't like air conditioning. But at any rate, my gas bill, same thing. Now my gas bill gets a little high in the winter. I've made some changes last winter, done some things to winterize the house. I need to do a better job of that. I live in a really old house. It's more than 100 years old. So there's a lot of heat escaping someplace in this old house. So I'm doing a little bit more each time. This was actually about $30 less than what it was last year this time. Now it's been a lot more mild of a month, so that helps. But yeah, we're gonna see what that goes. I mean, that's been as high as like 2 something, and that's 2 reasons really. One, my heat is gas, so when it gets cold, it's running. But also my stove is gas and my oven is gas, which I love. That's partly why my electrical can be so low. I love cooking in with gas, but I bake a lot, and I do like braises, which take hours, just hours and hours and hours of my oven running or my stove running. I bake bread, I make my own pizzas and like that. Yeah, it's a lot of gas through the stove. So that tends to get a little higher, especially in the winter. The opposite of that, though, in the summertime, my My bill is like anywhere from like $20 to $25 because I hardly cook anything in my house in the summertime. It's just too hot, frankly. And if anything, I'll cook a little bit in the morning, and I will make tea on the stove, like in my teapot, and that's about it. So it kind of balances it out. I think it's not terrible. But I'm trying to winterize the house a little bit better so that it will not be nearly as bad. My sewer is a flat fee. My phone is a flat fee. My water is not a flat fee, but that's the minimum usage. So no matter how much I use of water, I'm always going to get charged that. And I rarely go over that. And that even includes like in the summertime with my garden and the watering I do in my garden. So it's very, very rare for me to go over that. So I budget for that. And then usually like within the first week of the month, the actual bill comes. And so if it's a little bit different, I can adjust if needed. But again, I rarely need to. So unless like my toilet starts running or something. Garbage is it's a flat rate. I do pay it once a year. So that actually goes to a sinking fund that gets ready to pay that. And this will be the last for this one. And then I'm going to actually have to change that because the bill is going to be higher next month. So I have a little bit of wiggle room in that sinking fund, but with that in mind, I'm going to have to up how much I'm putting in there. And from that point on, we'll see. I might switch, but I think everyone else I think they're actually kind of still the least expensive, even though I keep getting fuel surcharges and whatnot. Internet is actually an internet TV combo. Come July, I think I'm just going to knock this back down to internet. Like I kind of got caught up in that, oh, well, if I add on this TV package, my internet will actually be cheaper. And like, I'm actually paying less for these two. And so I think at this point, like, I really don't watch TV. Like, I don't care about TV. If I watch something, like if I really want to watch something, I go to my parents and watch it. So I'm thinking about knocking the TV off entirely, or I might talk with my parents, and if they get rid of their TV and they want to use, my login and stuff like that, we might do something like that. I don't know. But as of right now, I just need the internet. I do need it. It is definitely something like if I'm working from home or certainly my part-time job requires internet, and I need to be able to like live stream with people or web conference and stuff with people. So I definitely need a high-speed internet there. And Comcast is really the only option that's got the speed it needs. So those are kind of my total, housing expenses. And then I'm actually trying to look at, I've got garlic bread going and I'm trying to decide if it needs to be flipped over yet or not because I don't want it to burn. I'm going to check it. Yes, it did. It's actually starting to get a little on the burnt side. So I budget about $200 for groceries for myself. And that actually it's a little high because again, like I'm not sure if I'm going to have to go out and stock up at some point on things. But I normally only actually do like $100. And I may actually, that might be all I spend. I may end up with a lot left over in here because at this point, like if I'm not really going out to shop for anything, or if I'm only going out to shop for like salad greens, I don't really need to buy a lot of staples. So, or any staples rather. So that's going to be probably not going to spend all that. My car, I have a combination. Most of this car is just sinking and gas. I walk to work, so I don't necessarily expect to spend a lot of gas money. But I do have a parent that is not well. So, I am not so much now that COVID has spiked, but for a while there, I was still making like a lot of trips to my mom and dad's. And so I was using more gas than I would typically, but I pay my registration every 2 years. I have one coming up next year, so I thought I need to start a sinking fund for that. And my insurance all goes in that one car line item. My life insurance, I give myself $100 of personal spending. You can see right now most of that is eaten up with things that I already spend. This is like got my Hulu in it. It's got my subscription to Washington Post, to Audible. And some of that I may change in the future if I need to, but for right now I'm okay with it. I give myself about $100 house and garden. That's just mostly for, anything that I want to do around the house. Like when I'm going to go get some stuff to try to winterize a little bit better, like I'm going to spend some of that money on that. Restaurants I have at $40. I don't necessarily care to eat out. Like I'm definitely not walking into a restaurant right now, but I might be doing like takeout or even fast food if I just do not have the time to cook something. So I left that in there so that I didn't like budget nothing and have to and still want to spend it. But for a grand total of $1,774.19 budgeted of my $3,659.66. So that's kind of the bare bones minimum. That's me not having any fun, which is fine. We're in the middle of the pandemic, so I don't expect to have any fun. I just need to stop myself from going on Amazon and being like, oh, hey, I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna go check that toast again. I'm just setting it on warm now so that it's good to go. So I keep a sinking funds tracker down here just so I kind of know what's in my sinking funds. I have it set up in a separate checking account, but it kind of all gets dumped there. So I have my escrow because for a year I was setting money aside. But with like everything with the pandemic, insurance rates dropped, the taxes and everything dropped. So I actually didn't have to pay anything in for once. So I just left it there. There's my car insurance. I pay that twice a year. So it comes out again in February. There's my garbage once a year. There's my Nittany Lion Club. I just put a little bit aside because I pay that once a year. And there's my car repair, etc. I did have money. I had to get new tires for my car, so I had a sinking fund set up to save money for that since last year when they inspected it and told me I was going to need new tires next year. So I had those put on, so that's a little bit of a wonky fund right now because I put in way more than I needed to, but I thought, it seems like a head start on any other repairs. It is a 2007 vehicle, so let's just assume repairs are going to be necessary. I have, let me see here. Boy, I don't think that fed anywhere. I'll have to figure out where that's supposed to go. So I have a standing order, do the subscribe and save with Amazon, and I don't get everything all the time. A lot of times I'm, kind of moving stuff around, and I think this month I may not actually be getting anything. So it's kind of sitting there because it's normally there, but I'll have to take stock of what I have and see if I need anything else. There's my personal, like I said, Audible, the gym, which I may cancel. Like I really thought they were going to kind of freeze us again because they did in the spring. So I was like, oh, don't worry about that. There's my iCloud because I have too many pictures on my phone, and my Hulu. So now these are really all designed to just kind of track what I was spending when. And this is the reason I liked this budget template the most so far, is because then I can come in and when I spend money, enter it in here and know where my money went. And what I spent it on, and these will actually all come into these different colored boxes. They'll feed those boxes, which is nice. There's my debt tracker in terms of what my 4 debts are, and I will get into those in another video because my goal right now, I think I'm ready to just start Gazelle Intense and pay them off. I had been spending, that's my timer again, hold on, more minutes to let it rest. I made a big baked pasta dish, pretty excited about it. So I had been saving money for different things. It took me a long time to kind of decide what to do with my money. I definitely sort of put myself in storm mode because I really wasn't sure what the future was going to hold for me. And I'll, get into that in a different video. But I was really in kind of a pilot cash mode because I just wasn't sure. And I thought, okay, right now, I think I have enough cash to do anything that I need to do. In the far off distance, I guess not that far off, at the end of the school year. I'm looking towards getting a different position. That's probably going to mean me leaving where I currently work. Simply because there's just no place for me in that role in where I am. There just isn't. So short of someone leaving or someone retiring, nobody's even close to retiring, and I sincerely don't see anybody leaving. So, short of that, there's really not going to be any space for me. So, and that's fine. Like that's not uncommon. So I will then start looking for jobs elsewhere, and I'm going to cast a pretty wide net to give me kind of the best chance of, taking this next step. But that then could mean that I need to sell my house and move. And with that in mind, I'm thinking, in the back of my head, like I need to have money to do that. I need to have some money saved aside, like set aside so that I can pay movers. I need to have money set aside. Like I know how much it costs for me to move here, but I moved here from like a 1-bedroom situation, like a 1-bedroom apartment situation, or the equivalent of. And now I have a whole house. I have a lot of furniture that I did not have when I moved in here. So, with that in mind, I am definitely, I'm not sure how much it'll cost. And I'm sure it'll depend on how far I go. And I'm probably going to cast a net like 3 hours in every direction. So I don't quite know what that's going to mean. I figure I might need money set aside to get my house, like to repair something in order to sell my house, or, something of that effect. And because of that, like I was really worried about just getting rid of all my savings. So I think now, I think that I have enough. So, and it'll be a different story entirely if I end up getting a job locally and can actually stay in my house. So, then I'll have a pile of money that I can use to finish paying off all my debt. But short of that, I don't, don't know what the future is going to hold. I mean, that's a pretty definite come May, June of this year. So with that in mind, I feel like it's smarter to hang on to that money. But I then kind of calculated out, like, can I still get this paid off and get it paid off fairly quickly with just my income and like just pretend that money doesn't exist? And I think that I can, at least the first two. And so I've kind of worked out what we're going to do there. And these, just real quick breakdown, I have a credit card and a personal loan that were, the credit card was more me like dodging higher interest. So it's one of those 0%. That 0% is up in either March or April. I think it's April, but I set myself a date of like pay this off by March. So now I can't remember if I said it has to be paid off in March, or I want to pay it off in March, so it's ahead of time. Irrelevant. It's going to be paid off in March. So I have the money to do that, and I have the money then to do the personal loan first, like just to kind of snowball it, which helps because that's actually a bigger payment. But that personal loan can get paid off actually by January, if I am good with my money. Should be able to pay that off in January. January is a 3-pay month, so I feel like I definitely should be able to pay that off. Honestly, probably can almost pay that off with just the extra pay from both jobs. So that's great. And then once I get those two out of the way, so I'd like to have the credit card, the personal loan done by March. And then I can start tackling my, the AES loan is my student loan. And the PCERS loan it's not really a loan, but it's kind of the best way I can describe it. So I taught for 2 years out of state. I moved back to the state. Nobody explained to me when I moved that I could roll my retirement from my old state to the new one. So I ended up just cashing it out. But I also could have bought those years right then and there when I moved, and it would only have been probably like a few $1,000s. Nobody told me I could do that. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I went, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Let me apply. And I applied, and they gave me a bill for like $14,000, which I could not pay then because I was literally like 2 days from signing my, or closing on my house. So I was like, oh God, I can't take this on. This would be crazy. So, and how it works basically, like if you don't pay it back, they take it out at the end. And I want to pay it back because I don't want them to take it out at the end. So it's technically not something that I have to pay. It doesn't have to come out every month. I didn't set it up that way. And realistically, like if I don't, I will pay it in the end. So I kind of list it as a debt, but that's why there's no payment on it right now, because I'm worried about the other things. Like if I choose to never pay on that, like I'm not gonna, my credit's not gonna get knocked. That's not gonna cause any problems for me right now. So, but I do want to pay it because I don't want to sit there and like have that start climbing. And right now I'm kind of in the like it only gets like $500-600 of interest every year, but at some point it's going to start really jumping, and I don't want to do that. So I am hoping to have that paid off as soon as, I mean, that'll come in after the student loans. But this video is getting incredibly long, so we're going to stop there. This debt payoff jar is kind of just what has been paid or what will be paid if I just paid monthly. Like I've kind of just not quite sure what I wanted to do with that exactly, because this is set up to like kind of pull one number and do something different with it. And yeah, it's pulling this number, which is what the current balance is, but that's not what the current balance was for 2020. So I'm probably just gonna, like, I was still kind of figuring out how this was gonna work. I still don't know that I know. But that will come January, it'll say 2021, and then we'll hopefully at that point be able to see it kind of come down. But this, I was just kind of like, well, I guess that's what it looks like there, and is that what that's gonna do? And I don't know. But here's the actual current balance. So yeah, that's my plan. Again, I'm doing this to try to stay on track with my spending, to try to, like, I'm hoping that I will be held accountable, or at least I will feel like I'm being held accountable by putting this out into the world, because otherwise, like, there's nobody around. Like, I have an accountability buddy who is great about talking me off the ledge of like big purchases, but just it's like the minor stuff that I want to make sure I do a better job keeping track of, and I stay away from places like Amazon and just go on and be like, you know what? I could really use one of those. Like, that's amazing. I really want to do that. I want to be that person who uses that thing, which is stupid, and you should never do that, but I have to learn that lesson myself. But I think that with this plan in mind, and I'm going to actually try to do kind of like a weekly recap, and see how it goes. So on, I guess it'll be Tuesday, since the first of the month is Tuesday, this month. So I'll do kind of every Tuesday and be like, hey, how am I doing? Hey, track my spending. What have I spent things on? And go from there. The other option I have is like taking everything out of my checking account, so it looks like I have $5 in it. Once I get all my bills paid, and be like, oh, you can't spend any money, you only have $5. We'll see how that works. But actually, we'll try this first, and see how it goes. So yeah, here it is.